Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to FlowTrack, Fast Track with FlowTrack. This is our seventh out of 10 days in what we're kind of considering, just a fast track to getting started with the FlowTrack system, which, in our opinion, is the best system, hands down. It's why we are users. We are actually Black Label owners of the software and very happy to do so. So today, we are going to cover all things website. Now, it's going to be a 2 days, so today and tomorrow, we're going to get through it. So just to give you a cap of what we're going to cover today, first and foremost, we're just going to talk about sites in general, have a quick conversation of when it's right to use the FlowTrack Builder and when you might want to consider something else. So when the FlowTrack Builder might not be a good choice for building your website. We're going to go over all the settings and interface and show you where everything is. I'm going to talk a little bit about website templates, what comes with the system, which, gosh, there's so much stuff it comes with. And also talk about the difference between template blocks, how you use them, and then get into the differences and give a quick demonstration of saved blocks and global blocks and some practical applications of why you want to use those blocks and where you would use those. We'll lightly go over the Flex Builder. I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds of how to use that. And then we'll finish the day creating some assets and images that we're going to use tomorrow. So I'm going to do a quick little demo in Canva. It's the software choice that we use when we're trying to do something fast and quick. You can use whatever you want, but we just want to show you how easy it can be to build those assets for the website. And that will set us up for tomorrow. And tomorrow, we're going to cover from A to Z. In other words, you're going to watch me build a website in less than an hour from start with a blank canvas all the way up to publishing it and it being live on the internet. So that is what we have planned for you guys. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started. Danny, say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm actually really happy that today is Lisa's day so that I can watch.
Danny gets a break. He has been presenting for all the days up until today. All right.
Well, so, Lisa, I'd like for you, because I'm sure some people are joining us in the middle. Yeah. Why don't you give people a background about your website? Not obviously, just give them a quick sum up, or not your website, your web business, because I know I come from the SEO world originally, and you have a rather large agency, and that way you can establish where you're coming from your perspective. I think that's important.
Yeah, not a bad idea, Danny. So what Danny's saying is, like, as agencies, we all do different stuff. Some of us do websites, some of us do websites and SEO. Some people just do SEO. Some people do graphics, social media. I started and built my first website. Please don't do the math on this one, because then you'll know I'm older than I look. But I built my first website back in the late 90s. Unfortunately, I had absolutely no business acumen. So I ended up getting a job like everyone else. And here I had this skill that I didn't even know was gold back then. As the years progressed, I did website design on the side for extra money. I never really took it seriously. It was just something I did. I was actually in the training space most of my career, most of my life. And as things came to pass, I actually started training and building and doing websites and teaching how to build websites. And it just occurred to me one day when I hated my job, just having a particularly bad day. Why am I sitting here doing this, teaching everyone else how to do this in this corporate environment I hated? So I literally put my hand up and said, please, the next time you lay off people, lay me off. And my wish was granted around 2014, started my agency, and primarily only doing website design back then. So right around 2011 is when I actually started the agency. And I got to be honest with you. In the beginning, all I could see was website design. I'm just going to build websites, build websites, build websites. What's really cool about this software and what's really cool about SaaS in general is we're providing solutions. And so all those folks that were buying websites, I started realizing somebody needed to host the website. So I started getting into hosting and I learned hosting. And then I started selling hosting as a service. And people, have different opinions of hosting. It's a lot of work. It's too complicated. But if you just learn the basics and you come up with processes and systems that you follow each and every time, I actually built a 6-figure income, which I still have today, on just hosting. So I'm making 6 figures just on the hosting side of my business. Our web design business is also very, very big. So that's a 7-figure business. What that actually does, we go out and build websites all the time for people. And so we probably build 5 to 15 websites a month in my agency. And keep in mind, I've got about 22 people that work for me. Why is this important? Well, because if you're doing anything in this system and you're not thinking websites are important, not only are they going to help you with your landing pages, be an integral part of your flows, integral part of any type of automations you do, you can easily add it as a service to your customers for extra coin and start making that passive residual like I'm doing. So back in the day, we'd charge $45 for hosting. We now charge minimum of $97 a month because we've added the tools. Every website I build right now, I add the chat widget and I add forms using our system for 2 reasons. One, it helps me stick the package price from 45 to 97, but it also makes the customer stickier. And what do I mean by that? If it's my forms and my chat widget, and I give them even just access to look at that stuff in the system, I now have recurring, very passive income. I don't have to do anything except set that up one time. And even if it only adds $50 a month onto my bottom line, when you're building 5 to 15 websites a month, start doing the math on that. It starts adding up super quick. So, Danny, my experience comes from just, 3 decades of doing, if that makes sense. I've been a computer geek my whole life, had my first computer in high school back in the 80s when, they were archaic. But business was new to me, right? 11 years ago, I started a company, and that's when I became a business person. And that's the hardest part. So as we go through the websites, I want you guys to keep that in mind and think about that. What you're learning, creating templates, creating pieces that you can sell again and again with just small tweaks. If it takes you an hour, 2 hours to set something up, but you can earn $45, $97, whatever it is a month for that service, that's how I was able to become, a $5 million business. You do that $45 at a time, right? It doesn't take long. Now, I'm 12 years into this journey, so I don't want you to think that tomorrow, if you start using, FlowTrack in the builder, you're going to make that kind of money. It's been a steady progress, but one that I would never look back on. I love where I'm at. I love what I do. And I'm still a web builder at heart. Even though we do SEO, this is my thing. This is what excites me. This is where all my knowledge is. So I'm very excited about it.
And I'd like to add something to that. So Lisa has her perspective, and my perspective is a little bit different. I dabbled with building websites. I charge $5,000 for a website. I hated doing it. I just thought there was a better way. I hadn't seen the light on the hosting side, but it's eyes that when I was managing my own server, I had to have another employee that was smarter than me to be able to debug things, because of all the WordPress widgets, having to update them and everything like that. So I'm personally in love where I won't even do a website, unless it's going into FlowTrack. There are just some projects I just won't take, like e-com and stuff like that. But I also understand that there's a lot of resources being put into this tool by the FlowTrack team, and I'm just blown away that they're even thinking e-com features. They're thinking about proper SEO features. The only reasons why back in the day I would have built in WordPress, I'm really, really excited to see where this web builder goes, where I don't have to worry about keeping my server up. I don't have to worry about all the hassles of managing all these different things, because all that is handled for us by FlowTrack. So I really, really want to give that perspective, is that even right now I have websites where I have a server I'm paying $200 a month for 10 websites just because I want high speed. And I'm talking to my team about redesigning them and putting them into FlowTrack. Save me that $200. And then when there's a big update to WordPress or any kind of plugins, I don't have to hold my breath thinking, is everything compatible? Because it just works. So I wanted to share that, and I know we've already eaten up about 12 minutes. Lisa, that's all I have.
We're good. I've got, it's a good segue, because the one question I'm getting asked a lot by a lot of people is, should I use the FlowTrack site builder for everything? And the answer to that is quite simple. No. There are going to be cases, at least right now, with where the website builder is, that it doesn't make sense. If you're doing a heavy 1,200 SKU e-commerce site that has all sorts of shopping cart and checkout, and you forgot this and you forgot that, and I want to upsell and cross-sell you, this platform's not ready for that yet, and it may never be. But if a mom and pop just needs an informational website, this is the better choice because of what Danny said, because you're not going to have to fool with all the extras you don't need. You don't need WordPress if you're not going to have a bunch of fancy stuff where you need a bunch of fancy plugins. This builder out of the box, and we've tested this. So I'm not going to talk heavily about this in this 2 days, but we're a big SEO house. We do a lot of SEO for our clients. And this builder has the bones to be really good with SEO. And we plan on doing that. We plan on continue to test the builder and sharing with this community what we find. So with that said, when you're thinking about, should I use this builder, ask yourself, is there some reason why I shouldn't? And if you can't think of a reason why you shouldn't, then you should. Now, if you're an experienced WordPress person, if that's something you've done for the last 10 years, I promise you there's a learning curve. I promise you could do it faster in WordPress because you're used to that. At some point, though, if you want to make that transition, you kind of have to bite the bullet and decide, I'm going to do it. So on our team, and I've got a team of about 5 developers plus graphics, and we separate our departments. They are still doing WordPress, and we actually hired a new person to come in and learn this builder. And then when they get trained up and when we have more business going to this builder, we'll start moving our graphic people over. But for right now, we keep them, just super busy with a lot of e-com sites and a little bit heavier API programming sites, things like that. But this builder, hands down, here's my FlowTrack fangirl side, hands down, best builder of any of the systems I've tried. So you guys have heard me talk about the different systems I've been on, and in some cases I'm still on until I can get everything moved. Still, best builder, hands down. And let's get into that. Let me show you why. So let's jump in and start taking a look at the builder. So when you log into FlowTrack, right over here on the left, you see it says websites, and that's where we're going to be able to go to start building. So when you click on websites, if you've never been in here before, you will not have anything here. It will be blank. I was in here the other day, Danny and I, when he was doing the chat widget, he put a chat widget and I had a website, ready so we could do that. But if there's nothing here, all you're going to do is click create project, create new project. But before we do, we'll come back to this a little later. You do have a couple of tabs up here, connected domains and applications. I want to point this out. Keep in mind, this is up here, connected domains and applications. We're going to need that later. And we'll need that tomorrow. So I'm going to come here to create new project. And then I'm going to scroll up so you guys can see this. Now, what to pick? A website or funnel is pretty self-explanatory. A landing page is basically the same thing as a website or a funnel. Cool thing, though, is you don't have to leave this view. If you're building websites and you're on the website tab, I love that the team gave me the ability to come here and create a form without having to go back to contacts, go back up to the top, hit the forms button. They gave us a very easy way to create payment forms right here. And then if you want to use a membership site, we're not going to get into those in this series, but we can do that at another time. You would create that right here. Today, we're just going to jump into websites and funnels. So I'm going to click create. First question it asks you, give your design project a name. Name it whatever you want. We're just going to call this our Fast Track with FlowTrack. And we're going to go ahead and save that. Takes a second. Site's created. And anytime you do something, you're going to look for the notifications up here. When you save, when you publish, they'll always come up in here. You're looking for green. If for some reason you see red, pay attention and go read that error. It's not going to stay up forever. This one's staying up because I have my mouse over it. But once I stop that, it's going to go away. So if you have something red, stop and read it. Support can't help you if you don't know what the error message is or what's going on. So we get into the website. We haven't done anything here yet. The first thing it's going to ask us to do is to add a page. I'm going to do that first, and then we're going to come back and go through these settings up here and talk about what they are. I'm going to tell you all about this interface and how it works, etc. When you go to add a page, you have the ability of picking a template or picking something pre-built. And we can pick from 31 templates. Now, I've seen some rumblings on Facebook like, man, it'd be great if FlowTrack already had some templates for us. There's 31 here. You're going to have to change the pictures anyway. You're going to have to change the text anyway. So this one doesn't need to say plumber, roofer, dentist, doctor. They don't need to be that specific because you're going to need to change them anyway. So there's 31 to choose from here, all different designs and styles to get you started. I guarantee you that, there's more coming. Again, if we get a marketplace, people will share their templates are going to be easy to get. But for right now, just for the sake of today, I'm just going to pick the first one here. It'll show you a little preview, show you what it looks like. If you're happy with it, you just basically say import this template. Now, while it's importing, how many websites can you have? It's unlimited, as many as you want. In order to support yourself in your business and to help support FlowTrack, keep this in mind. If you integrate the forms, if you integrate the chat widgets, that means the user has to give you their credit card to pay for those items. So you're going to be making a little bit of extra. It doesn't sound like a lot. It adds up. It adds up. And if you start building a lot of websites and everyone's paying for the phone number every month, they're paying for their minutes, not only are you supporting yourself and giving yourself extra revenue, but that's how FlowTrack is going to subsidize giving us unlimited, all we can ask, all we can eat, right? Keep in mind, I don't think this is anything they've ever said, but this builder shouldn't be used for mass sites or game in the system or anything like that. So once you get in here, let's go over where everything is in the cabinets. So we'll start at the top left. Once you've created a site, now I'm gonna click Save Draft, because if I don't and I show you the exit button, it's not going to save what I did. So I went up here and I hit Saved. The exit button is going to exit you back to the website screen. So if we click exit, comes right back to the website screen. There's the website we just created. So if I want to edit that website, I'm just going to click on it again, and it comes right back up in the screen we just saw. Now, this website right now has some settings we need to look at. So we'll go across the top. So I'm going to click on Site Settings. Keep in mind, site settings are for the entire website, all the pages in the website. So anything you do at this level is for everything on the website. So when we look at what our choices are, if you didn't like what you named it, you can come here and you can rename it. And right here, the other one I want you to really focus on. So this little icon that sits up in a website tab, that's called the favicon. So the favorite icon is what I think it stood for back in the day. You're going to set that right here. So if we wanted to set it to the FlowTrack logo, we would click that and do that. The next settings that you can look at are the custom code settings. Doesn't seem like a big deal if you're not experienced, but having the ability to have a header A body start and a body end is big. Not a lot of builders have that. They usually have header, body. And the team at FlowTrack really thought it through that sometimes we need to put code at the start, sometimes we need to put it at the end of the body. For SEO, and I'm going to always give you guys my SEO spin on things. We want the site to load fast. So if you don't need something to load the instant they see the website and it's supposed to go in the body, put it in the body end. Because then that's the last thing that is going to be rendered, and therefore you're going to have quicker time to paint, quicker time to speed, and the website's going to load better. These are where you put things like metadata, schema, other things also for SEO. So you have your header, your body start, and your body end. So you would click in here, put the code in. Just a note about coding. You're going to forget why you did something, where you did something, and how you did something. Comment your code. In HTML, it's as simple as the caret, an exclamation point, dash, dash, whatever you want to say, dash, dash, and caret. So comment your code. If you put something in there, what is it? If you put something else in, what is it? It's just going to help you later to go find if you have several things in the code. And then make sure right here you have enable turned on. Now, something really cool we're not going to get very into, but notice I can add a variable. If I've copied a variable, I can put a variable within code for maybe I have some code that references first name or company name or does something. I can, get that merge field in there. So I'm going to leave the whatever. I'm going to hit save. And then we'll go back and notice it brings us right to site settings. So I'm going to open that back up and go to the next one. So your interaction script, that's where you're going to put your JavaScript. Now, keep in mind, it says it really lightly, and if you forget to read this, you'll forget you do not need the JavaScript tag. It's already going to be put in for you. So if your code that you copied or you created has that JavaScript open tag, delete it. You don't need it. You don't need it. So you would put any code in here you want. Same idea. The minute you put something in here, notice it's not enabled by default. You have to enable it. So do make sure you enable it if you put code in here. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what this is, robot.txt files have instructions for anything crawling your website. So whether it be Bing bot, Google bot, any of the other crawlers that come through, and other code on there. So if you know what it is, this is where you can actually add in your robot.txt information. You can put right here and control that. If you don't know what it is, don't worry about it right now. Leave it blank. And same thing, don't forget to enable and save. For those of you guys in other countries, again, I think FlowTrack has really thought this through. You have GDPR right in here, and you can actually put, pick where you are worried about. Notice in the United States, the only place we have to worry is pretty much California. So if you're anywhere else, pick that, and then you can add things in here like terms of service, any custom code you want to do, and that kind of thing. So it's for when people need consent, right? They have to say, agree, I consent. This is going to add that GDPR consent to the website. And then finally, tracking. If for some reason you don't know what a Google Pixel is or a Facebook Pixel is or tracking IDs, this is where you're going to go in and put those kind of things in. So I can create a new Facebook integration. I could set the pixel in here. I can come in here and add my Google Analytics tracking ID and put that in here. And same thing when I save it, now that information is on the site. Keep in mind, anything we do here is global. It's the entire site. So a couple of these settings we're looking at, when we go back and look at page settings, you're going to see that we can also manage this stuff at the page level as well, which makes it pretty powerful. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and then we'll talk about that. The next settings are the page settings. So by default, your first page in a website, notice it's index. So when I click my page setting, notice it's saying index. You do not want to leave the page name as index. That's the first thing you want to change here. If you're not familiar with SEO, you're going to pick up some tips. This page name needs to be very succinct to the page, so that way Google's picking that up on what it is. Now, the slug has to remain index for your homepage for things to find it. FlowTrack really added something cool. Most of the pages, well, not most, all the pages are rendered in HTML. That's why they're screaming fast and why this builder is awesome for SEO. However, that .html isn't attractive to a lot of people. A lot of people think it's old school. So they added in the ability here for us to take away and not use the HTML if we don't want to. So we don't get that option on the first page, on the index page, because by default, it's not going to show the .html anyway. So we don't need to undo that. So keep that in mind. Same with page title. So my SEO folks, this is your physical page title, right? So this is your page title. So this is the title tag in your HTML. Down here is your description. So meta, name equal description. This is your meta information. So you put your meta description here, and then any of your keywords, this is going to be the meta for keywords put into the HTML up at the top level, and that'll be in here. Improving speed, actually, just check it. Why would you not? Just check it. It's going to help. I think it's pretty much the cloud CDN or something like that. So we're gonna go ahead and name this one Fast Track with FlowTrack. And I'm gonna go ahead and save it. Same thing, once it saves, every time it saves it, it kicks you out. If you weren't done, you just got to go back in. We'll go to the next thing. So keep in mind, this is this page only. If we override some CSS in here, if we decide to override some CSS, cascading style sheets in here, it's going to happen on this page only. This is not the best place if, for reason you want every single button on your entire website to be a certain color, a certain way, a certain size. You don't want to do it on the page settings because it's only going to change on this particular page. We're not going to have time today to go into full-blown CSS, so I'm going to go ahead and just remind everyone, you can get so many videos and so much information online about CSS. If you're ever running into a problem, reach out in the Facebook group. There's a lot of smart people in there that understand CSS, know it forwards and backwards, and can help you solve problems if you're having them. But you can override styles and do things. One thing I do point out all the time to folks is this exclamation important, semicolon is the end of that statement or that selector. But the exclamation important means override everything else. And on this thing, on this page, use this. That way, if somebody has done code above this level, remember, styles cascade down, right? This is the page level. This is going to override any other cascading style sheet that references, for example, this active tab. Okay, same thing we had on the entire site. We have the ability to add headers, body start, and body end. So this is a great place, again, for my SEO-centric folks. This is where you would add page-specific schema, for example. A lot of people, a lot of these builders, they just don't have this level of control. And this is what makes, in my opinion, this builder an excellent choice for SEO. And we're in the middle of testing that right now, head-to-head against a WordPress site, this site, and seeing how well it does, apples to apples comparison to try to rank two sites at the same time for the same keywords in the same space using two different builders. And I'll be letting you know how that goes. So this is where we're going to put page specific content for header, body start, body end, etc. And then interaction script, same thing, page level JavaScript and page level Facebook pixel information. So remember, we have global, that's our base settings, right? Our site settings for this website, just this one. If you have 10 websites, these settings only matter to this one. And then page to each page. Now, notice we renamed the name of the page. So now up here, it doesn't say index anymore. It says Fast Track with FlowTrack. So I'm going to go ahead and click on HTML code for a minute and let you guys look at this. It's up there. You can't come in here and you can't edit the HTML and you can't edit the CSS. See this as kind of like your inspector. So on browsers, you can inspect code, you can look at code, you can try to figure things out. You can't come in here and actually edit the code, but you can see the code. You know, when you publish, this is exactly what's going to be published. And you can see that this is exactly what's happening on the CSS. So you can try to figure things out. And then finally, you have File Manager where you can upload things, you can upload assets. First time we're going to talk about this, I want to point out you have site assets and you have system assets. Site assets are this website. So when we loaded that template, notice it loaded all of the site assets that come with that template. Because we loaded that template though, any website now we build in this instance, in this sub account, will now actually have those in the system assets. So system assets are shared between all of the websites. So if you used an image in one website and you want to use it in another website, when you do a search, make sure you click over to the system assets and you'll typically be able to find that. All right, so we're gonna skip that for now. You guys kind of figured that out. Up here, as always, when you're in FlowTrack, it tells you where you are. And then a couple of buttons right here. First of all, remember, I love that they did this. You can move the little phone icon if it gets in your way. I have a tendency to put it way up in the right, out of my way, so it stays out of my way. So autosave, it's up to you. Are you the type of person that works and if you make a mistake, you want to just close it and say, never mind? If you are, you want to disable autosave. And this is disabled by default. However, if you're like, no, I have a tendency to work for an hour and forget to save and then I lose my work, then I would enable autosave. But that's a choice. When we look at the website, we have the ability to preview it as we're building it. So if I click preview, shows me the website in a preview of what it's going to look like when we publish it. That's a pretty good website for us working all of 5 seconds to set it up. Keep in mind, all we have to do is change logos, change content, maybe change out a few pictures, change content, and I can literally do an entire website in this builder in about an hour. I'm going to show you that tomorrow. We probably won't make a ton of pages just because I'll be talking, explaining, and doing stuff as I go, but we are knocking these out pretty quick. And when somebody's willing to pay you $1,000, $2,000, they don't want to pay the big bucks for WordPress, we can come in here and I can have a developer that maybe I paid $100 for his time to help me build this. I'm charging $500, $1,000, $2,000. I'll do that all day long. So let me get out of the preview. And then don't forget to save if you don't have the auto save turned on. So when I save the draft, it does just that. It saves it. Now, we're not going to publish until tomorrow, but just realize these are where your publish buttons are. We'll go over all that tomorrow. So let's look at a couple things. Up here at the top, we have a bunch of little tools right here. So as you're looking and you move your mouse around, you're noticing that all these little boxes light up and they do things and we can change those. We'll get to that in a minute. But how did those boxes get there? And what if we don't like those boxes and we want different, structure? We want different assets. We want to bring in different things. That's the plus. So I always thought about that as I want to add something to my site. I click the plus. On this, you have the ability to pin it. So when you push the pin, it moves the website over so you see it in this littler view. Keep in mind, depending on your screen, it might make the website look bad because it's compressing it. But you can pin or unpin this at will, and then you can get this out of the way when you need it, but it's right here. This allows you to add things. So do you want to add a box, a section, a grid? It depends. And you're going to see me do a website from scratch tomorrow. We're going to add all of these things and show you these things. But to use something, you literally just click it, hold down your mouse button, and drag it. And what you're looking for is green means go. Wherever the green line is, that's where it's going to put whatever you told it you wanted. So we picked a section. Notice it just put a new section here in the website. Now in that section, by default, it's one column. If I want more than one column, that's what the grids are for. And so I can come here and I can add a grid. It's going to ask me how many columns, how many rows. Do I want to do some weird custom style, which you can do that. And I can apply that and make this maybe 3 by 1. And then you'll see as I move my mouse, there's now 3 columns in here. Now, the first question I would have is, what if I want 6 columns? There was no choice in here for 6 columns, right? There was no choice in there for 6 columns. I can take any column, any element in here, and I can duplicate it, clone it. When I do that, I click the clone button. Now I have 4 columns. Or click it again, 5 columns. Or click it again, 6 columns. So I think of grids as columns. Now, what happens when inside of a column or a particular space, you need to break this space up into 2, but not necessarily have it an even space? The Flex Builder is flexible. That's why they call it that. I can come now in this box and I can start adding boxes inside of boxes to create whatever it is I want. So notice I have 2 boxes. I have the column and I have a box in here. If I wanted to add another box, I can put that in here under the other box. And now I have 2 boxes stacked on top of each other. Again, this is a Flex Builder. If I don't like the stack, I can come and select. And sometimes that's probably the hardest part. Sometimes it's tricky to select. So click on what you're trying to get. And if you can't get its parent, you have this select parent element. So then, oh, there I go. That's how I got the column. And I'm going to move that a minute. Once I get that column, this little icon right here is the flex icon. What it allows you to do is decide your stack order and all sorts of other stuff. So these are stacked horizontally. If I want to stack them vertically, I can just come here with the Flex Builder and tell it, change direction. In other words, don't stack them on top of each other. Let these 2 boxes be side to side. And now when I go look, my 2 boxes right here are side to side. That's huge. That's powerful. And there's not really many builders out there in WordPress that can get to this minute level. And when you start playing with this builder and see how powerful it is, and you start moving layers and you can make layers transparent with the tool, you can move things on top of each other. You can do things. I guarantee you, if this thing could do everything I needed it, I would build nowhere else. Unfortunately, we build a lot of e-com and they need features that we don't have yet. But someday, if we have them, I'll build everything in here. But you can build some complex things with that in mind. So once you get that, everything else starts becoming easy. But let's stop for a minute. I want to go back through all the buttons so you see what's going on here. So I'm just going to hit a quick save because I don't have disabled, or I'm sorry, I don't have autosave turned on. So that was the plus. There are so many things you can add here. You can add text, you can have buttons, icons, lists, images, menus, nav bars, you name it, it's in here. And tomorrow you're going to see me use a ton of these and we're going to build a website. Moving on, we have the next button, which is your show layers. These are how everything's being built. So remember, I created a body. It has a section. That section might have another section in it. There might be grids in there. There might be boxes in there. There might be content in there. You can actually go all the way down deep into your content to select it. So say you can't select something, you're having a hard time selecting it, you can do it here. Now you could rename everything about your website. Most builders, including myself, are lazy. We're not going to come here and label every single thing, but I promise you, if you do that, it's going to be much easier. So for example, this is the top section. If you were to come here and double click this, I could call this my hero section, hero header. But inside that hero header, I have a section inside that section, so you can see how quickly it would take a long time for you to figure out where everything is. But if you take a minute to do that, especially if you're building reusable templates, so that's the trick I'll tell you. If you want to build these so you can resell them, you want to label everything, because that way when you want to move something, you go, oh, there's that. I click on it. I can actually move sections. So I don't even know what section this is. I'm just moving it. Notice I just moved a section. all the way to the top. I had no idea because I didn't know what this section was. Now I know it's the pricing section. So if I wanted to, I could say, okay, pricing, right? So now I know what that section is. So maybe I move that back to somewhere. I don't know where it was, but we'll move it back to wherever it was. This is crazy powerful. WordPress doesn't work this way. WordPress builders are just catching on. And there's some new ones coming out that do this stuff, but they're just catching on to this style. And it's just so refreshing. I can also hide sections. So notice, can't see the header anymore. So if I'm trying to figure something out, like what section is this? Click the little eyeball, turn it on, turn it off, hide it. And you can do that for any section you want, all the way down. So very, very good stuff here. This is your layer manager, helps you with your layers. Now, the next question is, okay, I got a home page. I want to add another page. How do I do that? Right here, show pages. So when I click on it, it puts this nice little view up and says you've got one page, plus there's a custom, 404 error, custom 301s, etc. There's error pages that come by default. You can go restyle those, do what you want with them. But we only have one home page. If I want to add another page, I can either clone this page, and I'll tell you tomorrow, you'll see tomorrow why we would clone pages, because they bring reusable parts and I don't have to reset them up. But if I don't want to clone a page, I can come right here and I can add to the pages. You see, I only have the one. So I can either clone the page or I can add to the page. Now, the next button is your apps. This is going to come to play when you're trying to do a membership, for example. So when we're doing a membership right here, we're going to add an app. When you click on it, this is the membership app. You go through it. Again, we're not going to get into memberships in the 2 days. We can do that down the road. Finally, this is your global styles. The entire website, this website, not all of them, this website. By default, it's using this little pack. But if I want to, I can click it and go look at different packs, go look at different styles. And when I want to apply one, I click it. And depending on the style, it's going to change certain elements within this website everywhere. It's a global style editor. There are so many choices. Now, I personally have recommended, and I think it's on the wish list. So if you love this idea, go upvote it. But I recommended the ability to have at least one where I can put in my 6, 8, 10 styles and put exact colors for people's branding. And I think we'll get that at some point. But right now, we can just click on something. And again, the entire website will change. Now, if you've got the website set up the way you want it and you click this, it will overwrite your stuff. So be careful there. Okay, the font, same thing. Again, for the entire website, do you want to change what font the header's using? The header 2, the header 3, the header 4, the header 6, the button. When you do that and the paragraph, you click on it. It comes up and says, how do you want to style this? It's going to show us literally a few. It's not going to show us everything, right? It's not going to show us everything. But if you know the name of the Google font, you could type it in here and it'll find the Google font because they put in all the Google fonts for us. So we have so much ability to change things globally, headers. So when you're looking at a website and you say, oh, I want this to be a certain color, ask yourself, do you want it to be a certain color just on this one or on all of them? Because if it's all of them, find out what this is. And how do you find out what it is? You click on it. There's a little A here for font. You can click that. And it will tell you if it's using any special type of typography. So right here is your normal H1, H2, H3, H4. If I make this an H1, I can come here on this tab and set what an H1 is supposed to be, both font and color. This is how you should be doing most of your changes. Don't get in the habit of changing things one off, because that gets old real quick, having to go do that. So good practice in web design is to have a good CSS, a good cascading style sheet, and create those styles accordingly. Okay, so we can do that. And then finally, and we'll get rid of this, we have one last button, and that deals with the pop-up. So on a page, if you want to add pop-ups, You can click the button, you can name a pop-up, and you can add pop-ups to the page and have pop-ups happen and control them and things like that. Again, we're not going to get into that today. I just wanted to point it out. That's where it is. Now, something super important when you're thinking about web development, we have to think about every browser, every computer. We have mobile phones and we have smart this and tablet that, and they all come in different sizes. So right up here at the top, and Mike has shown this before, so hopefully you guys have seen it, you have the ability to start at the top level, to start with the desktop. What does it look like on a desktop? Once it looks really great on a desktop, then and only then would I even worry about the laptop, the tablet, and the phone. When we build for customers, we even tell them, hey, Mr. Customer, we're going to just do your homepage first, and then we'll do the rest of the site, but we're going to do it all on desktop. So when we ask you to preview it, please don't preview it in your phone and send us feedback, because until you've approved a desktop version of your website, we are not going to go back and change all these things. And the reason being is when you're developing, if you're constantly trying to make all four look good and they go, oh, I don't like that. Can we change it? Can we try this? I want that. That's the things people get frustrated with the most. So set up proper expectations if you're doing this for clients to make sure that they know. But once you get it perfected for the desktop, okay, what is it going to look like on a laptop? What's it going to look like on a tablet? What's it going to look like on a phone? And then you tweak each of these versions and test them, of course, on different devices to make sure they look good. But couldn't be simpler. Now, remember, it's cascading. Once you change up here, it cascades down here. But when you change at the next level down, it doesn't change anything above it. So it wouldn't change anything on the desktop, only laptop, tablet, and phone. And then once you change it on the tablet, it won't affect these two, but it would affect the phone. So you want to change them in exact order, right? You don't want to skip around at all. That's why we perfect the desktop first. And we do that in every builder we've ever used. Okay, finally, you can come here and preview your page. And then when you turn the preview on, you can undo and redo, and Control Z and the common buttons work. You can clear the canvas. If you hit this by accident, there's an "Are you sure?" You click it. It says "Are you sure?" Read stuff that comes up. If there's any red on anything, read it. Because if you're not paying attention and you have done all that work and you say, yes, clear the content, it removes all the content of the page. So be careful of that. And then finally, we're not going to have time to go into all of this, but when I click on this little icon right here, the Style Manager, when I select anything, and then I come over here. So if I select this particular or the button, notice this is changing depending on what I select. This is everything we need to know about that one element. Not all the elements, that one element. So it's width, it's height, all sorts of information about it, animation, general dimensions, typography, decoration. This is where you control almost all of the CSS for that particular element. So keep that in mind. Again, it's a little strong to go into. We'll try to get into some of that tomorrow, but we can do we could probably do 3 days just on this and every single element. But I want you to know it's here, right? I want you to see that it's here. All right. And time flies, Danny. Let me just go over this real quick, and then we'll get into some other stuff. If we run out of time, I'll be quite frank, we'll just add another day at some point. But right up here, I just want to kind of go over anything you click on, something's going to pop up. And these are everything you need to know about whatever you clicked on. And it could be different depending on what you click on. So this is a logo, which is an image. So you'll see image settings. I can click on that. It shows the logo, things about it, things I can change. On every single thing, keep in mind, you have normal, you have what happens when someone hovers a mouse over it, and what happens when it's active, meaning they're pressing the button on their actual mouse at that time. Not everything, should you change, but definitely links and certain things, keep these 3 things in mind. Otherwise, they'll be hard to find. You can add tags to things. You can add filters. This is a really cool feature, powerful feature. We'll play with that a little bit tomorrow. You can add shadows to things. So every single thing you click, if you're going to become proficient in this builder and you say, man, I want to be the end all be all, I want to be a great developer in this tool, start looking at every little thing on what it does, because this is a powerful builder. I don't think people understand how powerful this builder is. We're actually putting together some complex, very sexy websites with this that look, in my opinion, sometimes better than what we've done in the past using this exact builder. So, and it's every one of these features. When you're looking at everything, look, there's tabs up here. So in this case, when you're changing colors or this particular block, border. Do you want a border around that block? Do you want a shadow on that block? Right? And depending on what palette you chose in the global settings, this palette will change. So if we change the palette will have these colors. I can't tell you how brilliant that is and how amazing that is to me, because I have never seen that anywhere else. And maybe I just missed it, but to have your colors, and that's why I'm hoping in the future we're going to have the ability to really define our colors that we want for the website, because a lot of customers have those. If you pick something like this logo, you want it to link to something, the chain link. And again, everything's here. Where do you want it to link to? A page, a website, an anchor. Remember, you have to put an anchor in. An anchor is a space or a place on a page. You have to put it in before you can actually, move to it. Sizing. So the size of this box, does it have a border? And then down here, on a lot of these settings, you can click it and you can change top, left, right, bottom, etc. Or you can say, no, I want it all the same and just do it once. Now I could keep going. We can add animations. We can add, you can transform things, skew them, make them look sideways, there's so many cool tools in here. You don't have to leave the builder to, for instance, take images and take things that make them look really cool and really design something nice in the builder. And we'll play with that a lot tomorrow and some other settings here. So keep in mind, every single thing we click on has settings. A button, for example, is kind of special. In that, notice it's got button settings. So we come in here, we can make it small, we can make it a large button, a small button, a medium button. We can make it just have inside or outsides. We can make it square, we can make it rounded or customize that. We can add border, we can change the icon and add icons. Click on everything. Now, you're not going to know what everything is until you play with it and try with it. Eventually, we'd love to have, all sorts of, this is how you do everything, but it's so vast. Really, the best way is just to play with it. So I'm not going to go through everything, but everything you click on also has a delete button. So if you don't want something, you can delete it. Almost everything can be cloned. So if you like it and you want to use it again, you can clone it. There's also a move button where you can move things around. So all sorts of options everywhere, you go, right? Everywhere you go. Now, on some sections, you get this padding by default. There's an X to turn it off, but you can also drag to make the padding more or less. So again, there's a lot of really fluid things you can do while building in here that can really build a website super, super quick. All right, with that said, that's pretty much everything. The only other thing I was going to show is right down here, the body. So we're on the body of the website in a section that we haven't named, with a section container we haven't named, in a grid we haven't named, in a column we haven't named, and here's the text we haven't named. It's showing you your nested structure, Now, if we've named more of these things, it would be a lot easier to drill down and know what it is we're drilling down to. All right, so for the most part, that is, and I'm going to exit here for a minute. And if you forget to save, it's going to give you one last chance. I can either say, no, I didn't mean, let me go ahead and save what I've done. Or you can say, no, don't save it. I screwed up and I want to go back to, starting point wherever I was before I did it. So I'm going to exit out of here. So those are all the fun stuff. Now let's talk really, we're going to just have a couple conversations and then I think we're going to have to call it. I don't think I'm going to be able to do too much on images. I'll give it a shot. When we actually create a project, and I just want to show this again, and I go to create one. So I'm going to call this FTWFT, Fast Track with FlowTrack 2. I'm going to save this. We don't have to pick a template. So when we go to add a new page, we get a lot of choices. So we got a full page template. I can pick any one of these, and it's all built for me. But sometimes when you pick a template, you end up throwing away more than you add to it. So, oh, I just want this header. Man, so I'm going to use this template and then delete everything else. You don't have to do that in FlowTrack, not in this builder. You can click on the template blocks, and they have put in all the different blocks of all the different assets in here. So if you start, and that's what we're going to do tomorrow, if you start with a blank page, you could still build the site pretty quickly, adding and putting in what you need. And over here on the left-hand side, you can search for something. You can go into different categories. Hey, I only want to see, galleries. All right, there's 3 of them. Here they are. I only want to see counters. Well, there's 1. Here it is, right? Or I want to see all. Or I can type something in if I want to find a footer. And I can type in footer, and it'll show me anything that has to do with footer, right? So I'm going to go back to all, get rid of footer there, and it'll show me everything yet again. So keep in mind, if you start from scratch, you still have the pieces and parts to pull in, except now you have the pieces and parts to all 31 of those assets. Now, let's say you've built something from scratch and you want to save that to reuse it elsewhere. We have the saved blocks. Now, I don't have anything in here because I haven't saved anything, but we'll do a little bit of that tomorrow. That saved block, I can actually use that again. That's you use it and bring it in. And when you change it, it doesn't change the original block, right? So it's kind of like a cloning tool. I create and save it, and then I can clone it anywhere I want, but I can make changes to it, and it doesn't affect the original block. Global's the exact opposite. A global block, think headers, think footers. You want them to be the same on every single page. We want those to be global assets. So everywhere we put them within that website, wherever we change them, they update everywhere else where they live. That's a global block. This is huge. This is how we're able to build reusable pieces in the system. And it reminds me so much of like my foundation of building websites back in the day, that you had to think about, a solid strategy of reusable pieces. So the fact that we can have reusable blocks and global blocks, and I've been using Divi for 12 years. Last year, they introduced the idea to do this. I mean, so this is not something that everyone says, oh, that's everywhere. It's not. It's not as common as you might think. So those are really important. So I wanted to go over the difference of that. We talked about the Flex Builder. I could either show, and let me jump back in just for a sec and look at questions, because the only other thing I wanted to cover today, was to create some images and assets. So I want to see what kind of questions we are, see if we have time to cover that, or should I skip that and maybe do that at another time.
There are some pinned messages for you, because I'm going to have to step out, Lisa. But if you looked at the pinned message, I already highlighted the ones for you for the people that have some questions.
Perfect. Love it. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right. So I'm going to just run through these, and then I'll leave it up to you guys if you want to stick around and have me do a little extra. So FlowTrack sites are amazingly fast. I've moved all of my WordPress sites but one, and that's next in line. They are screaming fast. The first test I did with FlowTrack, I built from one of their templates. I didn't change a darn thing. And then I started doing page speed tests and doing things because I wanted to assess whether or not this builder was going to be viable for me to use, because we do a lot of SEO for our clients. Out the gate, I did the template, and it got a 98 out of 100 score on both mobile and desktop. And that's when I knew we had a winner here. Had a winner. Other tools, I'm not going to name them. I have tried as much as I can, and I just can't use the builders because they score so poorly for SEO. So thank you for your comment. Next question. On a form that is put on a site, how can you change the background color of just a checkbox with CSS? By default, is that generic? Oh, it's that generic blue, but that does not go with a lot of customers' choices. So here's my best advice for CSS. I could, we could get 100 questions in here asking me specific questions about CSS. When you don't know how to do something in CSS, just jump over to Google. And for example, say, whatever you're trying to do, if it's a button, go in there and say, change background of button in CSS, change selector. The first thing is to understand what the nomenclature is. So let me jump back in here and show you. If we're in here, and I'm going to go back to the site that actually had stuff in there. If we click on something, that's why this is so important, right? So if we can't figure out what something is, so if we click on this button, for example, and we select it, and we can't figure out what it is just by selecting things, right? Body section, column, grid, column, that kind of thing. That's where it really comes in handy to be able to go look, at the CSS code, so to speak. Trying to figure out, okay, well, it's wrapped around this. Maybe it's I don't know. We'll come down here into some of the divs. If you can identify, oh, it's div ID I9W9B, then you can overwrite that. You can overwrite those things. So think globally, right? For the entire website, you can really globally overwrite anything. And when you're not sure what to do, literally just get on to Google and, CSS input button, or submit button. It's probably what you're looking for. Submit button background. Because there's thousands of selectors. Now, W3 Schools to me is one of the best places to go. They're usually pretty up to date. Their information is usually pretty good. You can find other free code camps pretty good. Stay with the bigger ones, but I can come in here and say, okay, what are they asking me? Well, basic button styling. These are the things you can do with the button. You can change the background color. You can change the border, the color, the padding, the text align, etc. Now, this is base CSS. It's graduated to be more complex, but unless it's deprecated and it's no longer in the system, normally these will work. So what you're looking to do is copy whatever it is it says, get rid of what you don't want. So in this case, if we copied that, we came back to the builder, depending on what we're trying to change, we'd go to this page, right? We go to the page settings, come to the CSS. And if we wanted to, we could put this in here to say, okay, all buttons. In this case, we're saying all buttons. I would like the background color to be something else. Now, if I don't need any of this stuff, I delete it. And in this case, it says it's green. Keep in mind, you might have to put in important on there. Might have to put important on there, right? And then when you hit save, notice that in this case, I don't know if it changed anything or not on this particular button. And again, I was just really fast trying to do it, so I probably didn't do it right. But there are thousands of things to change in CSS, and I don't remember all of them. I can't remember all of them. So I have to look it up. Everyone looks it up. That's normal, natural. Don't feel bad about that. All right, let me hide this. Go to the next question. Does the hide layer work for different views, i.e. show on desktop, but not on table view? When you're in here, oh, I got to share with you guys. When you're in here and when you click on the hide layer here, hide and show layers. So let's say here's the header, right? If I come to the phone version and I click on, sell like an online pro, okay? Notice over here, it's this piece of text here, and I gray it out. And then I come back over here, right? So over here, which one did we, trying to think which one this was. Trying to get one of them. Now they're not wanting to play nice with me. Maybe I have to, yeah. So I get rid of the whole box, right? When I come back over here to the desktop, it's gone. You cannot, there's only one layer manager here. That's not where you're going to hide and show things for different versions, right? You can't do it over here. I would need Mike. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember off the top of my head where you would hide that. So that's something I'll have to, Mike's not here. I looked, but I don't remember, but you don't do it here. You don't do it here. And it's most likely going to be, in your settings up here somewhere. I believe visibility is what you're looking for. But again, I don't remember if it's going to be for every layer or not. If we don't have that, we need that 100%. So I'll follow up on that, find out, and then I'll post something in the Facebook group. Great question, though. You guys are asking amazingly good questions. All right, let's take the next one. When working in the cloud, repetitive clicking to get buttons to work isn't going to get you anywhere. If the web build lags, slow down a bit and take your time building. Unfortunately, building in the cloud has been what we've had to do for years now, and 100%. There's a couple things too I want to add, AIO. I want to add in here, and again, I'm going to, sorry I keep sharing and not sharing, but when you are in the builder, especially on Sunday nights, think about that. Programmers are working overnight while we're not in the system, etc. So nights are, middle of the night can sometimes be hard, depending on when people are working. If you do not see the name of the page right here, if you do not see the name of the page, stop working. I don't care how many times you hit the save button. I don't care how many times it says it's saved. If you don't see the name of the page here, that's where you lose work. This has happened to us. It's happened to many of us on my team in this builder. There's something wrong. Refresh. Maybe it lost its session state, lost its connection. Refresh. But if you can't see the name of the page here, stop working. It's not going to save. So that's a little trick we found out. So just keep that in mind. All right, next one. What is the name of the builder that we use in FlowTrack? Flex Builder. I believe it's Flex Builder. I don't know much more about it than that, unfortunately. The builder is pretty great. There's some nuances to pop-ups on mobile and sticky nav, but support is pretty quick to respond and working to get things sorted. Yeah, this builder has come like even since November. I remember asking for some features in November, and we got them already, and some really big stuff that I've been asking for like in other platforms for years, and we don't get. They've been very responsive. I couldn't be happier with the horse we bet on, so to speak. We put we're moving everything from every other platform into this platform. And every day the team continues to instill on me why we made the right decision as business owners. So love it. Some stuff we got to worry about. Can you hide sections from the desktop view and the mobile view? We got to find that out. I'm not exactly sure how to do that. My team might know, but off the top of my head, I don't remember how to do that. We're going to find that out for you guys. Is there something I need to do to apply fonts globally? When I pick a set, the page is not updating. Where I showed it, Mark, if you remember where I showed it, that's the only place I know to do it globally is in that style manager. Again, we might get some clarification on if we have the ability to have a global CSS where we can actually physically change a CSS. Right now, I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. That's something we can look into. So I'm not quite sure if you're using it and it's not working, we need to report that as a bug, but you do it. Let me just remind. You come in here, and for our site settings, I'm sorry, it's not there. I'm lying to you. You come right here to our global styles icon right here. So if it's not working for paragraphs, H1s through H6s or buttons, this is all I know of that we have the ability to get access to. I tend to just use these to my advantage, make everything an H1 through an H6 if it's not a paragraph. So that's how I've been doing it. Okay, and I think that's all the questions Danny tagged for me. So unless there were some ones recently, a couple of comments here. So I'm going to read those. I don't think you can do that yet. Hide on mobile. Big Rise, Bigry, trying to get the names. Bigry says, thinks it's coming. In the meantime, you'll have to throw that styling in the media query in the page settings. Yeah. So, and where he's talking about is, remember, you can actually put CSS, in your actually settings. So let me show where that's at. That's a great thing to show. You can actually, remember, when you're in your site settings and you come to your custom code, in your header, you can put CSS in your header and it applies to the entire site. This applies to the entire site. So if we came here and we wanted to do something, we can take that code, pop it in here, hit save, and it should apply to the site. Now, keep in mind, if you publish the site and then it doesn't show up a minute, it's a caching thing. Always give it, and we'll talk about this tomorrow when we do it, always give it extra time. I think we have one more comment, and then I'm going to go ahead and call it. I'll show you guys how to do assets in Canva. We'll just make another video on that separately. We could probably spend a half hour doing that. Flex plus the CSS grid. Yeah, that's how we do everything. Yeah, and somebody's saying there had nothing but errors when I try to change global fonts. Listen, we have run into problems. It's not a perfect builder. There's definitely bugs. There's issues. Report them. If we all silently suffer in silence and we're not reporting them, squeaky wheels get greased. So, the team's got a lot to do. They're working on a lot of stuff. So if we're having trouble, we have to go ahead and report this stuff. And I promise you, this team is very responsive. They'll do their level best to get to it as quickly as possible. All right, that's what we have today, everyone. We went 15 minutes over. We're trying to be really good about not doing that. So I am not going to cover the assets and images today. I will actually come to the table tomorrow with the assets and images created. But when I create them today, I'm going to go ahead and make a video. That way you still get that content, but it'll be in a separate video for you guys. So I will do that and put it out as well. Maybe we'll make a 7B or 7 extra out of day 7. Don't forget, if you're new, if you haven't, been on the channel very long, if you haven't been in FlowTrack very long, one of the best places to get support, to get help, to commune with everybody is in the Facebook group. Remember, Danny and I, we're just black label users and white label, resellers. We're in that group too as business owners, and we have problems, and that's where we go to ask questions. We're not ashamed or afraid to say, hey, I don't know how this works. Anybody know? So get in there and ask your questions, get your help. So definitely get in there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, please, because that is how you'll get notified of these events. Danny and I plan on doing a lot more. We plan on giving you guys a lot more resources and training and different things that'll help everyone. And if you're subscribed, you can get those. That's it. That's what I have. If you guys have questions, hit me up, hit everyone up in the Facebook group. And hopefully everyone will have a phenomenal rest of your day. Tomorrow, we are going to come in and build from scratch. So we're going to take an hour and we're going to build it. You're going to see me add and move stuff and change some stuff and do some things as we go. So hopefully I will see you there.